So even healthy tech isn't good when we do too much. Like, we don't want to just eat carrots all day, even though they're healthy. You need balance in life. There's nothing better for kids than to be outside in nature, moving their body and being socially connected. So, we really need to remember that sometimes we don't need super fancy apps. We just need to get outside and see each other.
Hello and welcome to the Sunshine Parenting Podcast, where each week we talk about ideas for raising kids who become thriving adults. I'm your host, Audrey Monkey. Here on the podcast, I share my experiences raising 5 kids who currently range in age from 16 to 26 and working with thousands more as a summer camp director over the past 3 decades. I'm the author of Happy Campers, and I frequently do workshops with parents, teachers, and summer camp professionals about social skills, connection, and happiness, topics I researched extensively for my master's in psychology. If you want tools for raising kind, optimistic, self-reliant kids who become thriving adults, you've come to the right place. Hello, Sunshine Parenting listeners, and welcome to episode 156, which is first being released on Friday, September 11th, 2020. This week's One Simple Thing tip comes from one of my favorite authors and speakers, Bob Goff. He says, figure out the 8 people you would like to see at your deathbed, then surround yourself with them in life. It might seem like kind of a morbid topic to think about who you would want with you in your final days, but it's kind of important to think about because I think a lot of us go through life thinking that our deathbed is so far off that we'll focus on those people and priorities later. But I think this year, if it's taught us anything, is that we don't have a lot of control about much of anything, and we don't know when that day will come when our life will be over, but we do know about today. And we know that we can take some time today to jot down a quick list of who, at this stage in your life, those 8 people would be who you'd want at your deathbed. And then focus on connecting with them now and maintaining and nurturing those very important relationships with your 8. Today's guest on the podcast is Dr. SHIMI Kang. Dr. Kang is an award-winning, Harvard-trained doctor, researcher, media expert, writer, and keynote speaker who specializes in how the mind works. She provides science-based solutions for innovation, leadership, wellness, and resilience. Dr. Kang's expertise lies in the neuroscience of mental health, addiction, motivation, relationships, and optimal performance. She's spent over 20 years researching, treating, and working with people from all walks of life. Back in 2017, I heard Dr. Kang speak at an American Camp Association conference. She was a keynote speaker, and she talked about her book, The Dolphin Parent, A Guide to Raising Healthy, Happy, and Self-Motivated Kids. I still remember her analogy that human children are much like dolphins and have the same things that dolphin needs, which she uses the acronym POD to remember. P for playtime, O for other time, and D for downtime. I've really enjoyed learning from Dr. Kang about the Dolphin Way and looking into the amazing program that she's created called Dolphin Kids in Canada. In my chat this week with Dr. Kang, we're talking about her brand new book, The Tech Solution: Creating Healthy Habits for Kids Growing Up in a Digital World. The Tech Solution is a to-the-point resource for parents and educators who want the best approach for raising kids in our digital world. It outlines all you need to know about the short-term and potential long-term consequences of tech use. Dr. Kang simplifies cutting-edge neuroscience to reveal a new understanding around how we metabolize experiences with technology that will lay the foundation for lasting success. On top of that, she offers practical advice for tackling specific concerns in the classroom or at home. I know managing tech is on all of our minds right now, and I'm really excited to bring you this week's chat with Dr. SHIMI Kang about the tech solution. Welcome to the podcast, Shimi.
Thanks, Audrey. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to talk to you today about your brand new book, The Tech Solution. Tell me the subtitle again. I forgot the words.
Yeah, it's The Tech Solution, Creating Healthy Habits for Kids Growing Up in a Digital World.
Well, the timing of your book is quite uncanny, isn't it?
Well, there's so much, even before the pandemic, tech was one of the number one issues on parents and educators' minds. It really hit us very quickly. And then the pandemic came, and now we really realize that this is not something that we can kind of look at in a black and white way, good or bad. We really have to go deeper in understanding our relationship with technology.
Oh my gosh, I really do. Even for me, and it's not an area of my expertise, it's the thing that parents worry about and seem to ask about most is what to do about all these screens and all this time that kids are spending on tech. So what's sort of some of your big takeaways that you had from doing your research on this topic?
Well, first of all, you're absolutely right, Audrey. It is the number one parenting issue. We know about 70% of parents say that tech use is a constant battle in their home. And I think that we need to recognize that issue goes beyond tech. It really is impacting our relationships, our attachment with our children, their sense of identity, even self-esteem, because when there's so much conflict, it really does have more greater impacts. And secondly, we use this idea of screen time, and of course now it's impossible to count time in minutes. We really have to go to screen quality and what tech is doing to our brain. There is now very good science that we didn't have before in terms of what exactly is happening in the brains of the developing mind, the young brain. And we know that there's healthy tech, and that if we can pivot towards that, with a deeper understanding collaboratively, now we can set the stage for healthy habits that they could take into adulthood and beyond.
Which is why your book is so helpful, because you actually share habits for parents to just figure out what to do. So why don't we talk about a few of your favorite habits that you want parents to learn to teach their kids?
Sure. So I start with the metaphor of a diet. And I say, this is all very overwhelming. I find it too. I have 3 kids. They're all different ages. They're all different. But I know, and most of us parents, and educators, we guide our children towards healthy eating habits. We talk about junk food. We talk about healthy food. We talk about toxic food. And we can use the same paradigm with tech, that the tech we consume impacts our minds, just like the food we consume impacts our bodies. Knowing that, then, now we can start to help them understand that toxic tech is any tech that releases that stress response. So that could be things that associated with sleep deprivation, even our posture, like being hunched over with our neck flex, not moving. That actually, our nervous system doesn't know what to do with that. It's like, why are you in a cave not moving? And it will fire that stress response simply by that flexed, crouched posture. It's like, are you in a cave? Is there a hurricane? Is there a predator? So we want to avoid the toxic tech, of course, things like cyberbullying and hate, but also FOMO and comparisons, comparing your life to others. So that's clear. That's the toxic stuff. Now, the junk tech is a little bit tricky. It's a bit like junk food. But really, just like eating a bag of chips mindlessly, when we're mindlessly scrolling through social media or zoning out with a video game, that's a bit of junk tech. That's dopamine, and you want to limit and monitor that, just like candy and chips. And you want to consume the healthy tech. So that is the tech that leads to self-care, connection, and creativity. So I say care, connect, and create. That tech is for self-care. That's mindfulness apps, that's sleep, that's Fitbit, that's exercise programs, that's meaningful social connection, FaceTime and community building and activism and creativity. There's so much innovation on tech, so much to learn and master. So that's where we want to guide our children towards.
How old are your kids right now, just out of curiosity?
So my daughter is 10 and I have a 13-year-old and 15-year-old sons.
Okay. So you're in the depth of it right now with the school stuff. And is school, what's happening in Vancouver school-wise?
Right. So we have an option. We definitely, schools are open and kids can go back with all of the precautions and social distancing and all of that. And yeah, it's been really challenging. I find with my three kids, my daughter has dyslexia and tech was really important for her. It's really helpful for her reading and writing. My oldest son has ADHD and he uses his noise canceling headphones and all kinds of programs to help him focus, but at the same time, he can get so distracted. I think for them, my kids are going to be going back to school. They definitely learn better in that real life environment.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure, I think that it's just been weird. I don't know. My kids, I have a set that are older, like 26, 24, 21, and their experience as children was very different from my two younger kids who are now 16 and 19, just because all the tech really took off. Like when they were little, where they don't even really remember a time where there wasn't like, parents didn't have smartphones and all this stuff. So it's really interesting to me. Shimi, I don't know if you feel the same way that I think adults are struggling as much as kids.
Yes, absolutely. Of course. So, we have to understand that technology is like no other product that has come before. There's something called persuasive design. This is a deliberate use of very sophisticated neuroscience. Our dopamine pathways are being used to really get us attracted and keep us on screens. Now, I don't want to say that this is all evil and they're trying to destroy a generation. The purpose is like any consumer product is to sell and have people attracted to their product. The side effect of that, though, is the addiction, is the anxiety, depression, is the compulsive use and the loss of boundaries and time. And so, this is true for adults. This is true for kids. I see seniors who are severely addicted to tech, especially now again. So on one end of the screen is the most powerful neuroscience we've ever had known. And on the other end of a screen, we have a young developing brain that the frontal lobe isn't even fully connected yet. So it really is such an important topic for parents and teachers and educators to be present and involved in.
Yeah, I just see like the world. I mean, it's just been crazy how we just like started using all this stuff without really knowing where it was going to take us. And you should look around the world now and how everyone seems, I mean, if they're not addicted, it's whatever, compulsive. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. The amount of time that we find ourselves, checking and rechecking and all that. I've always felt, because I run a camp. And so what people love about camp is the kids are unplugged and outside and social interaction. And I think a big part of this is kind of what you mentioned is just where the time is going. It's like when you're on your screen, it's instead of something else. So when you think about that healthy diet of like your whole life, playtime and in-person interactions, all the things that you miss because you're on your screen instead. Is that kind of how you feel too, like for our kids, that it's not just the addictive nature of the screen, it's like what they're not doing instead, like sleeping?
Exactly, right. Yeah. So even healthy tech isn't good when we do too much. Like we don't want to just eat carrots all day, even though they're healthy. You need balance in life. So I guide parents, especially younger kids, to really look out for and focus on 3 life skills before introducing tech. Those are time management, so you know how to move from task to task and manage your time so that you are able to enjoy real life social skills, which is so important before you introduce tech because kids are losing those. And then emotional regulation, understanding what to do when you're bored, when you're angry, when you're scared before tech, because otherwise they're going to connect those emotions, coping skills to the tech use. So, life skills, and that's why camps are so important, Audrey, the work that you do. There's nothing better for kids than to be outside in nature, moving their body and being socially connected. That is where the human brain evolved in nature and socially in groups and learning and growing and being challenged. So, we really need to remember that sometimes we don't need super fancy apps. We just need to get outside and see each other.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So Shimi, a lot of my listeners have older kids. And what if you're a parent, which I think there are a lot of parents out there whose kids do not have those life skills, but have already been on tech? What do you recommend to people whose kids, don't have the time management or the self-regulation, and yet, they're a teenager now and they're doing this stuff? How can you catch up, or what are some skills that we can teach our kids at this point?
Right. Well, the good news is that habits can always change. We have something called neuroplasticity, which means we can always build new pathways. We can learn and relearn. It takes a bit of time. In this tech solution book, I have something called a family reset plan, and it's a 6-step plan to help guide families, exactly what you're talking about. Say, okay, how can we reset this relationship? It is never too late, and it is worth it. Because I say tech is like fire. If you don't know how to use it, you will burn the house down. If you do know how to use it, it will advance us as a civilization, and you will be left behind. So a reset really is about going through those steps. First, take inventory of your tech diet. My sons, who are teenagers, came up with the idea that Fortnite is like nacho chips, like nachos. There's a little bit of healthy cheese and salsa because they're having fun and socially connecting, different from first-person shooter games where they're alone in their basement. But they know it's a bit junky. So these conversations are so revealing. And then have a family reset. So don't single out one person. Say we're all in this together. Set some bite-sized goals. Use motivational techniques. You have to, because of that persuasive design, because of that dopamine drive, that it's like a magnet. And then celebrate successes and really expect some failure and setbacks. That's part of the process. That's why you need a plan. And it's laid out there in the book that I really hope, and I know many families I've worked with and I know are using it. And we need to go about it systematically. This isn't going to magically happen.
Well, yeah, and habits, if they've been going for a long time, it's hard to, turn the Titanic around, but like you said, with little small steps. So I'm assuming that some of your ideas are like not having tech in bedrooms. Is that one of your suggestions for adults and kids?
Yeah. So, my first book was actually called The Dolphin Parent, where I laid out a parenting paradigm of being firm yet flexible, just like the body of the animal, and being collaborative, being playful, being curious, being a good communicator. So I would really start with that approach and then figure out what you're firm about. If you're firm about no tech in the bedroom, which I do recommend, that's great. If you're firm about no tech at dinner time. So I do lay out some clear house rules that I think, hopefully we can all agree on, but that are common sense. But then you have to have flexibility because your children are growing. They're at different stages. You may have more than one. You may be working from home, and our world is constantly changing. So we need that adaptability. So the book has solutions for each aspect of tech use, for connection, for health, for creativity, for the addiction piece, that has both of those. So some firm rules, but also that understanding of flexibility for different age groups.
Yeah, I can imagine with people having to do at-home learning in smaller housing, you kind of need to sometimes have kids be doing school in their class, in their bedroom, or that kind of thing too. So yes, I can totally see that flexibility being important. Where do you see tech going, our family life going? What is your wish for families in terms of tech use and tech habits?
Well, I don't see it going anywhere, leaving us. In fact, I believe that we can really develop a powerful, positive relationship with tech. And in the end of the book, I kind of coined this term, Homo techius, which is the next step of human evolution. Really, it is allowing us to access knowledge and information and connect in really profound ways. So, it's like that fire of our time. And if we can harness that power, now we're going to see tech in service of ourselves. We are going to be using tech for our health, our happiness, our success, as opposed to, I would say, the beginning of our relationship with tech, where tech was more using us for that attention economy that is very clear there. So that's where I think the future is headed. I talk about future-ready kids, having the C's of 21st century learning, children who understand communication, collaboration, critical thinking, creativity, and contribution. All of these are going to be played out online as much as real life. That's going to be the new future-ready child and adult.
Oh, that all sounds so good. Let's get there. No, I think kids are already, there's some amazing things that kids are creating and doing online. And like you said, not all tech is alike. I love how you say the basement first person shooter game, because that is we always envision them being in the basement when they're playing the game. So what other habits or ideas do you most find yourself sharing with your clients and families?
Yeah, I think I like speaking in metaphor and stories because it helps us understand. But I give the analogy that we don't just hand our children keys to a car, right? So at a young age, we start teaching them about safety and seatbelts. And then as we're driving, we start explaining what we're doing. And then we get them lessons. And then we drive with them. And then we take them on local roads before the highway. It's called scaffolding. We want to do the same for tech use. So for example, when my oldest son wanted a phone, he was allowed to first use it with no data and no number, but just to connect with family and friends. If we saw he was able to master that, switch it off, be responsible, then he was able to get social media. And then again, he had to show competency with that. And then he was allowed to post. We had his password. We were on local roads together before we sent him off on the highway. I would say really take the same approach with technology. It is as powerful, I believe, as a car. And also recognize that from a point of role modeling, some parents get really stuck on this idea that I can't use it if I'm showing my kids. Of course, you want to model healthy tech habits like bedrooms and kitchen table. But, I might use my phone in a parking lot and I'll tell my kids, look, I'm not on Snapchat or playing a video game. I'm paying the grocery bill and booking your dental appointments. And that's good role modeling. That's practical use of tech. So don't be afraid to use technology. I think with the pandemic, we can invite children into our world of remote work. They can see what we do, our jobs, and how we interact. So I think there's a lot of role modeling that can happen now that we weren't able to even do before.
Yeah, I love that, looking at the bright side and the positive modeling. I think I feel that way too. Like, I don't want my kids to think that I'm like on my phone just scrolling. Like, right. I'm doing something productive, but I just have found with my kids, each person is so different in the way they deal with tech. And I don't know if you see this, like some people just seem to be more prone to like getting addicted or using it maybe more in the mindless way versus people who, like, I notice some of my kids are just purely so like they want to connect with their friends. That's like what they use it for, is like communicating with friends. And to me, that kind of use, especially during the pandemic, is actually good, that they're staying connected and FaceTiming and, texting with friends is a more positive use of their tech time. And I just find, even for myself, I try to do these like days without social media and stuff, because even as an adult, I get sucked into that scrolling thing.
Yeah, right, exactly. And so we know the pathway of tech addiction is very similar to all other addictions as well. So there's certain risk factors. Risk factor would be any other mental health issue. So, if you already have some anxiety, depression, ADHD, my oldest son is ADHD. He's more at risk than my middle son. So, that's important. Any family history of addiction, any trouble with addictive behaviors already. So your child had a sugar addiction when they were younger, or, they were glued to the TV or cartoons, as opposed to another child who loved being outside. Any history of trauma. And then we know that despite those risk factors, anyone could be prone to it as well. Mm-hmm. So it's really navigating those two things. I say really ask your kid what they're using tech for. And if they're using it for coping skills, a big part of the book is I talk about real life coping skills of play, others, and downtime. meaning that encourage your children to use these categories when they're feeling stressed or afraid or bored. Play, get used to what is their passion? Playing music, playing sports, others connecting with a pet or a friend, and downtime, just unplugging, breathing, taking a break. Guide them towards those coping skills, because if they are stressed, and we know stress is the number one health epidemic, and it's more now than ever, then they're going to be turning to tech for that. And now you can set up the seeds of an addiction, even in a child that wouldn't be so high risk to begin with.
Yeah, I do remember. I loved your talk at the American Camp Association conference. You were talking about the Dolphin Way, and that really stuck with me. The play, the others, and downtime, which comes from like your dolphin paradigm, right? Of like what dolphins do.
Yeah, I say, I've been a psychiatrist for 20 years. I worked with parents and families from all walks of life, and I started to say, my goodness, humans have forgotten what it means to be human. They would tell me they have no time to play with their kids or have dinner anymore. They're all driving to some activity, or everyone's sleep deprived. And I would start using the metaphor of the dolphin, say, look, we're mammals. We're meant to sleep. Dolphins sleep by alternating their brain hemispheres. And guess what? They do 3 things every day, and all mammals do, and it's play, connect, and rest, and take care of themselves. So it really came from that. And I feel that sometimes we need to look outside ourselves to see ourselves. And nature is a great example of that.
Well, I sure hope this massive worldwide reset that this pandemic has caused will help us come out the other end with prioritizing those things more. Because I do agree that I think everyone's been running so frantically and not taking the time to prioritize what's most important. And I think this looking at our tech use is a great start of a way to, if we put more time into our playing and our connecting and our resting and regrouping, that naturally needs to mean less tech.
Yes, absolutely. And I think the pandemic is really a reset, and we don't just have to survive it, but actually, when we look at those activities, play, others, downtime, they're not just coping skills, but they also lead to our peak performance. They lead to those theta and alpha brain waves that are super exciting. So, we could actually come out better than ever. And just to talk about play is could be recreational. I say recreational is recreate, but play is a mindset. You can take it to anything. You can play with, how you do your podcast, how you do your dishes, how you talk to your kids. You can play in any of those particular ways. So I think that, when we take that mindset of being open to new and different things, now we can really express ourselves in unique ways and learn from trial and error.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I am so excited about your book. I'm about halfway through it right now. I'm going to finish it because I need to get to all 6 of the habits, but I am so excited. Where can people find you and your work and all of these great resources that you have?
Sure. So the tech solution is available anywhere books are sold. So local bookstores or online, Amazon, etc. Everything is on my website, drshimikang.com. I have a new YouTube channel called Mental Wealth with Dr. Shimi Kang, where I talk about not just mental health issues, but going beyond into optimizing our brain, mind, body relationships. So you can find me online, and I really hope to hear from you. I'm on social media. I love hearing comments and questions, and I just really appreciate people like yourself, Audrey, who are doing the hard work of getting these messages out there.
Oh, well, this has been so much fun. I'm inspired. Really have been reading your book and thinking about my own tech things and things I need to take off my phone, and how sometimes when I'm on there, I'm preventing myself from doing some of the projects and things that I really love. So I think it's like we all need to think about how we use tech in a positive way, like doing podcasts, and maybe not using it in some other ways that are not as helpful. So thank you so much for being on today. It's just been a pleasure talking to you, and I've enjoyed seeing you in person at that conference and then talking to you again today. And I just hope this book gets into the hands of all families because it's so needed right now.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate your great work and all your wonderful messaging and outreach to families around everywhere.
My favorite this week is a book by the author I mentioned in my One Simple Thing tip for this week, Bob Goff. In his most recent book, which is called Dream Big, Know What You Want, Why You Want It, and What You're Going to Do About It, Bob Goff shares so many insights that I found really helpful, including this one from page 42. We won't travel far without the ones we've already traveled with. As you are pursuing your ambitions, don't miss out on or mess up with your family and friends. Your greatest rewards in life will be found in the handful of people you have developed beautiful, loving, authentic, vulnerable relationships with. I'm so excited to be part of a fun new initiative through my camp, Gold Arrow Camp, called the Gold Arrow Camp Teacher Academy. You can find out all about it at goldarrowcamp.com/teacher-academy. The Gold Arrow Teacher Academy, or GATA, is offering monthly webinars for members where we are covering all kinds of ideas and tips for connecting with students and creating fun and growth and friendship for kids. We're also having weekly supportive chats with our members, as well as weekly PDFs with no prep or low prep connection activities that teachers can use in the classroom, whether virtual or live this year. Check the link in the show notes and please share with the teachers in your life about GATA, which is going to be such a supportive and fun environment for teachers to connect and grow this year. As always, you can find notes, links, and other resources related to today's conversation by visiting my website at sunshine-parenting.com. While you're there, be sure to sign up for my email list so that you don't miss out on any of the great resources I have available for raising thriving kids. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd really appreciate you sharing it with a friend. Please take a moment to give Sunshine Parenting a rating or review on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. Let's end with a quote from my book, Happy Campers. Creating a close and connected family culture that promotes positive, lifelong relationships is the most important thing we can do for our children. Warm and supportive parent-child relationships, a sense of being loved, and help and support from family members serve as protective factors and increase children's resilience and their ability to face many of life's inevitable challenges. I'm Audrey Monkey. Thank you for joining me for the Sunshine Parenting Podcast. Join me again next week for more conversations about raising kids who become thriving adults.